Hello, I'm James, and welcome to a Jonesing for Film franchise review. This week I will be reviewing the RoboCop series. So first up is 1987's RoboCop, directed by Paul Verhoeven. So RoboCop takes place in a futuristic Detroit. The streets are full of crime, and a powerful company named OCP has bought the police department and is working on a replacement police officer. After Officer Alex Murphy is killed in action, OCP brings him back, fusing him with their technology, thus turning him into RoboCop, the ultimate weapon in crime fighting. Now, prior to doing this review, I had never seen any RoboCop films. For some reason, I never got around to it. And I had been missing out on a really fun film. This movie embodies everything that made 80s action films so damn fun. The action is fun and exciting, and I was surprised by how brutal it was. I knew action movies from the 80s got violent, but I didn't expect the high level I got here. And the effects are so awesomely hilarious. There's this other robot called ED-209. This thing is hilarious, and not in like a sidekick way. Just the things that it does are hysterical. There's one scene when it's chasing RoboCop and it's trying to go down some stairs and it can't quite seem to find its footing, so it's like, no, put its foot down, no. And then it thinks it has it, and then it just falls. It was hilarious. Part of what makes it so funny is the stop motion animation used to make it move. It looks so out of place, but it just didn't matter. I also liked Verhoeven's direction. I've only seen a couple of his films, and from what I remember of them, they were just as fun as this one. And I love the score in this. RoboCop's theme is very epic. Now on to some faults. The characters weren't really developed and the acting wasn't great. But again, it is an 80s action flick. So those points, not a huge surprise that they're bad, so I'm not going to knock too many points off for that. Probably the big thing that bugged me were these random news reports that spring up here and there, basically explaining some of the background stuff. What bugged me most about them was some of these stories they talked about had nothing to do with what was going on in the actual plot, and they had these very bizarre commercials either before or during the little broadcast. So overall, RoboCop gets a superb. I'm glad I finally got around to checking this out. If you haven't seen this one and you like 80s action films, do yourself a favor and check it out. Now on to 1990's RoboCop 2. This time around, RoboCop is trying to rid the streets of a new drug and its creator, while OCP designs RoboCop Model 2. There's a few other side plots, but they don't really go anywhere, so I'm not going to mention them. Now, after watching the original, I gotta say, I'm disappointed with RoboCop 2. Where the original was this fun 80s romp, this film feels like it was trying to be serious and intricate. It seemed like the filmmakers were trying to throw more depth, and it really didn't need it. They had all these plot points, and some were kind of interesting, but these side plots were either wrapped up in like 5 or 10 minutes, or never brought up after their initial scene. From what I read on IMDb, the original script was deemed unfilmable, therefore the script was heavily rewritten. And for some reason they left these introduction scenes to these extra points, but they never fleshed out that whole part of the story, leaving the final product very broken. There was also this very odd character choice. One of the villains is a 12 or 13-year-old kid. There just didn't seem to be a point to it. And the faults from the original are present here too. The acting's just okay, and the random broadcasts are brought back, but there are fewer of them. But the commercials that they made for this are far more bizarre than the first film. And again, the characters aren't really fleshed out, unless you call making the unlikable characters annoying jackasses fleshed out. I will say that the action was cool, but I just didn't have the same level of fun that I did with the first film. Therefore, I give RoboCop 2 an average. I wanted to enjoy this one as much as the first, but it was just too broken. Finally, we move on to 1993's RoboCop 3. So in this film, OCP has finally decided to move forward with their new city project called Delta City, a project that's been mentioned since the first film. However, in order to do that, they must tear down old Detroit. So they send in this rehab squad to force hundreds out of their homes, dead or alive. The people don't like this, so they decide to rebel. Oh, and there's something about this robotic cop that helps them, but I don't really know. It just kind of felt irrelevant. Now, after watching the disappointing RoboCop 2, I was less than enthusiastic about watching RoboCop 3, which meant I went in with the right mindset. If I was any level of excited to watch this, I would have been severely disappointed. This movie was terrible. The acting was a joke, the dialogue was awful, the conflict was forced and stupid. I mean, from what I recall from film 1 and 2, Delta City was supposed to be a way of cleaning up Detroit and putting people in new apartments free from crime. So they need to relocate the people who live there, otherwise who's going to live in this new city? So why are the people protesting and fighting back? And then when they do, why does OCP send out mercenaries to kill all the rebels? None of it makes any sense. Maybe I missed something because I was just so bored and uninterested with what was going on. Seriously, I did not give a crap about what was going on at all. And they pull out every single cliche. There's this little girl and her hero is RoboCop, and she's like 8, but this computer whiz who can hack into high-level military-grade robot. And then there's the awful humor. Cheesy puns left, right, and center. And anybody remember the scene in Terminator 3 at the beginning when Arnold gets the outfit from that dancer guy? And he pulls out the star-shaped sunglasses, and it was intended to make you laugh, but instead the audience groans. If you don't remember that scene, I don't blame you. I'm surprised and concerned that I remember it. But in this film, there's a scene that resembles that. In fact, it's actually worse. There is a scene where RoboCop steals a pimp's car and chases the bad guys. And I'm talking Lincoln painted pink with fuzzy dice hanging from the mirror and everything. Such a disgrace. And the one thing that saved the last film was the action. That's not the case with this one. This film is PG-13, so the majority of the shootouts involve both teams shooting at each other pretty much blindly. So all the fun from the first 2 films completely sucked out right here. Oh, and did I mention RoboCop fights 2 robotic ninjas? So yeah, this movie jumped the shark and nuked the fridge. I thought it was only possible to do one or the other. So needless to say, RoboCop 3 gets a pour. It has to be one of the dumbest films I've ever seen. So that is my take on the RoboCop franchise. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to visit me on Facebook and check out my new blog. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next review.